You're watching the second day from the Great Lakes Public Forum here in downtown Toronto. I'm Nam Kiwanuka from TV Ontario. With me now, I've got Molly Flanagan from the Alliance for the Great Lakes. Thank you for making the time to speak to me, Molly.
Thanks for inviting me to be here with you.
I wanted to talk to you about water diversion. It's such a controversial topic. Why is that?
Yeah, so water diversions are super controversial in the Great Lakes region because there's a fear in this region that if you let any water outside of the Great Lakes Basin, that we might end up with a death by a million straws, with lots and lots of communities wanting to take water out of the Great Lakes.
And there's agreements in place to prohibit the diversion of water, but exceptions are made?
You're absolutely right. So there's an international agreement, the Great Lakes Agreement, and a compact on the U.S. side of the border, the Great Lakes Compact, that prohibit diversions of water outside of the Great Lakes Basin. But it does include exceptions, and that's for communities that straddle the Great Lakes Basin Divide, and also for communities that are within a county that straddle the Great Lakes Basin Divide. So there still is the opportunity for some communities to access Great Lakes water.
So tell me about Waukesha.
So the city of Waukesha is a town of about 70,000, 80,000 people. They have radium contaminated water. They use well water. The wells are contaminated with radium, and in order to solve their drinking water issues, they requested a diversion of Great Lakes water.
And how was this decision made?
So the Compact Council and regional body, the regional body is made up of the Great Lakes governors and the two premiers of Ontario and Quebec, considered Waukesha's diversion application, and ultimately, after adding a number of conditions to it, decided to allow Waukesha to have access to Lake Michigan water. So it's the first diversion of Great Lakes water under the Great Lakes Agreement.
Which is significant. Are people happy about this or not?
There's a range of feelings about it. So it's very significant. It's actually precedent setting since it's the first diversion of water. And what it does is it sets the bar for any future communities that want to apply for Great Lakes water. And as to whether people are happy about it, I think there's a range of opinions. A lot of people are not happy about it. A lot of people feel like Great Lakes water should remain in the Great Lakes. And then I think people who are sort of more policy wonky, people more like myself who are looking at this, look at the Great Lakes Compact and Agreement and feel like, this actually sets a pretty high bar for other communities that want to access Great Lakes water.
What do you mean by that?
It took Waukesha a number of years, millions of dollars to put forward their application. It was a really long, arduous process. They didn't really get everything they wanted. And so at the end of the day, I think other communities within the Great Lakes Basin that want to apply for a diversion under the Compact and Agreement are going to take a really hard look at what Waukesha went through, and they're going to think long and hard about, is it really worth it? Is this really, my best source of water? And I think most communities are going to decide they don't want to get water from the Great Lakes. They're going to figure out another way.
There's a lot of water in the Great Lakes. Why are people concerned about water being diverted from there?
Yeah, so there is a lot of water in the Great Lakes, and in Waukesha's, the amount of water that they're going to take from the lakes is minuscule, and they're actually going to return all of the water they're taking from Lake Michigan back to Lake Michigan. So you actually end up with no net loss of water. So the real reason that people are concerned about this is they're just worried that, one community leads to two communities, leads to 10 communities, and then where does it stop? And what I would tell those people is don't worry, it stops because the Compact and Agreement set standards that any communities have to meet in order to divert water. And it's really hard, to meet those standards. And so this isn't going to be open season on the Great Lakes.
And when the water is returned back to the Great Lakes, there is some concern with that too, right?
Absolutely. So right now the city of Waukesha is proposing they're going to return their water to Lake Michigan via the Root River, which goes through some communities like the city of Racine. And it's going to include more contaminants than the water running through the river right now. It's also going to increase the amount of water running through that river. So communities are concerned about what that means for potential future flooding. And so those are issues that the Alliance for the Great Lakes, my organization, and other organizations are going to be looking at very closely as Waukesha is implementing its diversion to make sure that those communities aren't harmed by the return flow.
Molly, thank you so much for helping us try to understand such a complicated issue.
It's great talking to you. Thank you.